She was a bright nursing student in a quiet Tennessee town, until one morning she vanished without a trace. This is the story of Holly Bobo, a life stolen, and now one of the many whispers of the taken. Welcome to Whispers of the Taken, where every mystery is a voice lost in the shadows. This video is based on public information and falls under fair use. Like, subscribe, and comment. Even the quietest voice can echo the loudest truth. Holly Lynn Bobo was born on October 12, 1990, in Darden, Tennessee, a tight-knit rural community where faith, family, and hard work were cornerstones of everyday life. Raised alongside her older brother Clint, Holly grew up in a loving and supportive household. She was known for her gentle spirit, kind heart, and a smile that could light up a room. Holly was deeply connected to her family, often helping her mother with cooking, spending time with her father outdoors, and enjoying a close sibling bond with Clint. As she grew older, Holly blossomed into a bright and ambitious young woman. A student at the University of Tennessee at Martin, she was pursuing a nursing degree with dreams of making a difference in the lives of others. Her passion for helping people was evident in everything she did, from volunteering at her local church to comforting friends who were going through hard times. She was known for her thoughtfulness and maturity beyond her years, and her presence left a lasting impression on those around her. Outside of academics, Holly enjoyed music, singing in church, and spending time with friends. She loved animals and had a soft spot for those in need, both human and otherwise. Described by many as sweet, humble, and full of life, Holly represented the best of small-town values, compassionate, respectful, and devoted to those she loved. Her early years were filled with hope and promise, making the tragedy that unfolded in 2011 all the more heartbreaking for those who knew and loved her. In the spring of 2011, Holly was just months away from finishing her nursing program and had her sights set on a future filled with purpose and compassion. On the morning of April 13, 2011, she woke early to study for an upcoming exam. Around 7:30 a.m., her mother left for work, while her father had already gone to his job, leaving Holly and her brother Clint at home. Their house sat on a quiet road surrounded by woods, typical of rural Decatur County. That morning, a neighbor called Holly's mother after hearing screams coming from the Bobo property. Almost simultaneously, Clint saw Holly outside with a man dressed in camouflage, who he initially assumed was her boyfriend. From the window, Clint watched as Holly and the man walked calmly into the woods, unaware that she was being abducted. By the time it became clear something was terribly wrong, it was too late. Holly had vanished without a trace, and panic quickly spread throughout the community. What followed was one of the most exhaustive and heart-wrenching searches in Tennessee history. Thousands of volunteers, law enforcement officers, and search teams scoured fields, woods, and waterways in hopes of finding her. Despite national media coverage and massive public efforts, leads were scarce. The only immediate physical evidence was a small blood stain found in the carport and some belongings discovered nearby. For years, the Bobo family lived in painful uncertainty, clinging to hope while fearing the worst. It would take over 3 years before Holly's remains were finally discovered and the truth behind her disappearance began to surface. The 3 years following Holly Bobo's disappearance were filled with anguish, frustration, and relentless searching. Her case gripped not only the state of Tennessee, but the entire nation, drawing attention from major news outlets and true crime enthusiasts alike. Law enforcement agencies worked tirelessly, conducting countless interviews and following up on hundreds of leads, but progress was painfully slow. The Bobo family remained in the public eye, making emotional pleas for information and holding on to hope that Holly might somehow still be alive. Vigils were held regularly, and her pink-ribboned image became a symbol of both heartbreak and determination. Despite the public's support, the investigation faced significant challenges, including rumors, dead ends, and false confessions that muddied the waters. It wasn't until 2014 that a break came, one that would finally begin to answer the questions that had haunted Holly's family and community for so long. In September of that year, skeletal remains were discovered in a remote wooded area of Decatur County, not far from where Holly had last been seen. Days later, dental records confirmed what many had feared. The remains belonged to Holly Bobo. The discovery marked a tragic end to years of searching but opened the door to long-awaited justice. It also triggered a new phase in the case, one focused on uncovering the details of what happened to Holly and holding those responsible accountable. The investigation into Holly Bobo's disappearance was one of the most complex and high-profile cases in Tennessee's history. Initially, law enforcement struggled with a lack of physical evidence and solid leads. But over time, names began to surface. Local men with criminal records and ties to drugs and violence. The first major break came when Dylan Adams, the younger brother of Zachary Adams, was arrested on unrelated charges. During questioning, he told investigators he had seen Holly at his brother's house the day she disappeared. His statement, although inconsistent at times, helped shift the focus onto Zachary Adams and his associates. Zachary Adams quickly became the prime suspect. Along with his brother Dylan, two other men, Jason Autry and Shane Austin, were implicated in the crime. The state believed that the group had kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered Holly, then disposed of her body in the woods. Shane Austin died by suicide in 2015 before facing trial, but the remaining three were charged. Jason Autry eventually agreed to a plea deal in exchange for testifying against Zachary Adams. His graphic courtroom account described how Holly was held at a property, assaulted, and eventually killed, claims that shocked the public and became a cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Years of courtroom battles followed. Zachary Adams stood trial in 2017, and despite his defense team's attempts to discredit Autry's testimony and poke holes in the state's evidence, he was found guilty on all counts: kidnapping, rape, and first-degree murder, and sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. In early 2018, Dylan Adams entered an Alford plea, accepting a 35-year sentence without admitting guilt. Though convictions were secured, questions about the investigation, the reliability of witness testimony, and the handling of evidence continued to stir controversy. Autry later recanted his testimony in 2023, claiming he lied to avoid a life sentence, prompting new appeals from Zach Adams' legal team. Despite this, a judge denied a new trial in 2024, and the battle over Holly's case continues to this day. Holly Bobo's story is one that forever changed a small Tennessee town and left a lasting imprint on the nation. What began as the mysterious disappearance of a bright, kind-hearted nursing student became a years-long pursuit of truth, justice, and healing. Her family, steadfast in their love for Holly, endured unimaginable heartache, facing each painful chapter with grace and determination. The public stood beside them with vigils, fundraisers, and tireless efforts to keep her story alive, refusing to let her memory fade into silence. Though her killers were eventually brought to justice, the wounds left behind remain deep. The legal battles surrounding her case, including recanted testimonies and continuing appeals, have prolonged the trauma for those who loved her most. Yet, despite the lingering shadows, Holly's legacy shines through. Her story has inspired changes in how missing person cases are handled and has reinforced the importance of community involvement in seeking justice. She is remembered not just for how she died, but for how she lived, with compassion, purpose, and quiet strength. Today, Holly's family continues to honor her memory by advocating for victims' rights and supporting other families facing similar tragedies. While the pain of her loss will never fully disappear, the love and resilience she inspired remain. Holly Bobo's name is now more than just a headline. It's a symbol of a community's fight for justice, a family's unbreakable bond, and the enduring hope that even in the darkest of times, truth and light will prevail. Thank you for listening to the voice behind one of the many whispers of the taken. Each story we share is another life turned into a whisper, fragile yet powerful, carried forward by those who refuse to forget. These are the voices of the lost, echoing through time, reminding us of the human lives behind every headline and every mystery. As we remember them, we honor their stories and keep their memories alive. Until next time, we'll continue to shine light into the shadows, so these whispers are never truly silenced, and justice and truth may one day prevail.